My husband's $80 million estate, including this house, will belong to me. We don't have any kids, so everything rightfully comes to me, my sister-in-law declared smugly. My name is Riley, and I'm a 45-year-old part-time worker. My husband and I have two sons. One is a high school senior preparing for college, and the other is a sophomore. My eldest is set to take his university entrance exams this year, aiming to become a lawyer. He has been passionate about law since childhood, likely influenced by my older brother, Malcolm. Malcolm is a lawyer who established his own firm years ago and now employs several attorneys. My eldest, having grown up admiring my brother's work, has always been an excellent student. Even in elementary school, he excelled academically. When Malcolm heard about my son's dream, he was thrilled and encouraged him wholeheartedly. My son would often tell him, "Uncle, I'll become a lawyer just like you." To which my brother would chuckle and respond, "Hurry up and make it happen so you can follow in my footsteps." Malcolm, though married, never had children. He visited us frequently, doting on my sons as if they were his own. His wife, significantly younger than him, was a reserved and difficult woman who never visited us. As a result, we hardly had any interactions. Having lost our parents at a young age, Malcolm took on a parental role when I got married. Not long after, he also tied the knot. My husband and I initially felt relieved that Malcolm had found someone. But upon meeting his fiancée, I was taken aback by her unfriendly demeanor. Considering she was about to marry my brother, I expected joy, but instead she seemed sulky and distant. Trying to be polite, I told them, "You two make a great couple." But later, in private, I shared my concerns with my husband. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off about her. My husband, who agreed, sighed and said, "She didn't seem particularly pleasant, but it's Malcolm's choice." Despite our reservations, Malcolm married her. Before their wedding, he purchased a beautiful house, and we visited to congratulate him. The place was breathtaking, exactly what one would expect from a successful lawyer. However, his wife was nowhere to be seen. Jokingly, my husband asked, "Has your wife already run off?" It was meant as light-hearted banter, but Malcolm's serious expression made us uneasy. "She goes back to her parents' house whenever there's an occasion," Malcolm explained. "Today is her mother's birthday, so she's staying overnight." Sensing the awkwardness, my husband let the subject drop. Then, out of nowhere, Malcolm asked, "If I can't have children of my own, would you consider letting me adopt one of yours?" At first I thought he was joking, but his expression was sincere. The unexpected question left me speechless. My husband, however, laughed it off and replied, "Who knows what the future holds? If the time comes, we'll talk about it. If you're okay with our kids, you can take your pick." He treated the matter lightly, but I couldn't ignore my growing concern, not just about the adoption, but also about Malcolm's strained marriage. While I knew it wasn't my place to interfere, I couldn't help but worry. As time passed, whenever we visited Malcolm or he came over, his wife was never present. It was as if she had completely removed herself from our lives. More than 10 years passed, and I had nearly forgotten about her existence. This year, my eldest was accepted into his dream law school. During our celebration, Malcolm revisited the topic of adoption. "As I mentioned before, would you consider letting me adopt one of your sons?" he asked. Now that he and his wife had been unable to conceive, the question carried a new weight. The last time it felt like a casual inquiry, but this time Malcolm was serious. My husband, still treating it lightly, replied, "Would you prefer our eldest son since he's pursuing law?" While my husband was quick to suggest it, I hesitated. It was a major life decision, and I couldn't overlook my concerns about Malcolm's wife. Would she mistreat my son if he weren't biologically hers? So I asked, "Is your wife on board with this?" Malcolm gave a strained smile. "Don't worry about her. We've talked it over." Relieved yet still cautious, I decided to consult my sons before making any decisions. They were old enough to have a say in our futures. That day, the conversation ended without a resolution. A few days later, I received an urgent call from Malcolm's law firm. He had collapsed. I rushed to the hospital, where his staff stood anxiously outside his room. He had suffered a stroke at work and was unconscious. Strangely, no one had been able to reach his wife. I tried calling their home, but there was no answer, and I didn't have her cell number. My husband and younger son arrived, equally worried. While searching through Malcolm's belongings, my second son found his phone. We unlocked it and dialed her number. The moment she answered, she snapped, "I told you not to call me again. I'll sue you." Startled, I spoke calmly. "It's Riley, Malcolm's sister. He collapsed and is in the hospital." Her tone shifted instantly. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was Malcolm. Did you say he collapsed?" I explained his condition and the hospital's location, expecting her to rush over. Instead, she responded cheerfully, "I'm busy right now, but let me know if anything changes." Then she hung up. I was stunned. How could she be so indifferent? Realizing she wouldn't be any help, we took charge of Malcolm's care. Since my eldest had finished his exams and had free time, he visited his uncle daily. Malcolm never regained consciousness, and despite his critical condition, his wife neither visited nor called. A week later, I decided to call her again. She picked up immediately, her voice light with curiosity. "What's up? Has he died?" Her words sent a wave of fury through me, but I kept my voice steady. "No, he's still alive. Why haven't you visited him?" Her response was cold. "I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a miracle worker. There's nothing I can do." Furious, I ended the call. That conversation made me suspect that Malcolm's desire to adopt my son had been a desperate attempt to find happiness in a marriage that had already failed. When I brought it up to my husband, his response was grim. If Malcolm passes away, his wife inherits everything since they have no children. I regretted not deciding on the adoption sooner, but it was too late now. When I casually mentioned it to my sons, my second son surprised me by saying, "I'd be happy to be adopted." Unlike his older brother, who had clear ambitions, he saw adoption as an opportunity for an easier life. I had expected my second son, who idolized his older brother, to also express interest in being adopted. However, he surprised me by firmly stating, "I don't want to be adopted. As the eldest, it's my responsibility to take care of you and Dad." His words filled me with joy, but deep down, I knew that my eldest, who dreamed of becoming a lawyer, was the one best suited to be adopted by Malcolm. Unfortunately, since my brother was unconscious, I couldn't proceed with the adoption on his behalf. It wasn't the inheritance I cared about. I simply didn't want a single cent of my brother's wealth to fall into my sister-in-law's hands. She seemed to be eagerly waiting for his passing. But there was nothing I could do except pray for my brother's recovery. Sadly, that never happened. A few days later, Malcolm passed away. With no other choice, I contacted my sister-in-law. "My brother has passed away," I informed her. "We need to arrange the funeral." To my shock, she responded cheerfully, "Handle everything yourself. Just make sure I'm not listed as a pallbearer. I have no interest in formalities." Before I could say another word, she abruptly hung up. My husband and I, along with Malcolm's law firm staff, organized the funeral. Though my husband was concerned about the firm's future, Malcolm had planned everything in advance. While he was the representative lawyer, he had entrusted the firm's management to a reliable colleague. As a result, the firm would continue operating smoothly. The funeral was attended by an overwhelming number of people, including influential figures, CEOs, politicians, and prominent attorneys. The sheer number of wreaths alone made it clear how respected my brother had been. My eldest son helped with the arrangements, but my second son, upon seeing the caliber of attendees, sighed in regret. "I should have agreed to be adopted," he muttered. "I never realized how important Uncle was." My husband and I understood his feelings. Since my sister-in-law was absent, I stood as a pallbearer. Surprisingly, no one questioned her whereabouts. It made me wonder if anyone besides us even knew she had been married to my brother. Malcolm and his wife had never held a wedding ceremony, just a honeymoon, so many of our relatives might not have even been aware of their marriage. Seeing how things turned out, I couldn't help but think it would have been better if they had never married at all. What's the point of a wife who doesn't even show up to her husband's funeral? I regretted not allowing my brother to adopt my son when I had the chance. Because of that, I feared his entire estate would now belong to his wife. Once the funeral concluded, I invited everyone to Malcolm's house for a meal to express my gratitude. "Thank you all. Because of your support, my brother can now rest in peace," I said. The atmosphere was heavy with sorrow until an unexpected guest arrived. Wearing a flashy pink coat, my sister-in-law suddenly made an entrance. "What are you doing here now?" I asked, unable to hide my disdain. She smirked and in a loud, triumphant voice, declared. My husband's $80 million estate and this house will be inherited by me. Since we had no children, everything belongs to me. Her bold declaration was met with unexpected laughter from Malcolm's law firm staff. Confused, we all turned to look at them. Furious, my sister-in-law snapped, "What's so funny? You're being incredibly rude." One of the lawyers smirked and replied, "We all knew you were officially divorced. The settlement was finalized the day before Malcolm collapsed." My eyes widened. "What? You were divorced?" My sister-in-law's face contorted with rage as she glared at the lawyers who had just exposed the truth. Clenching her teeth, she looked ready to explode until another lawyer added fuel to the fire. "In addition, you were ordered to pay alimony. The divorce was caused by your affair, so it was inevitable." Her face turned red as she shouted, "Who am I supposed to pay alimony to? My husband is dead." She smirked, thinking she had found a loophole. But she was dealing with professionals. "The right to alimony is inherited," the lawyer countered. "Riley, as Malcolm's legal heir, is entitled to receive it from you." For the first time, it dawned on me. I was my brother's sole inheritor, with no parents and no children of his own. Everything now legally belonged to me. My sister-in-law's expression shifted from anger to sheer horror, but instead of accepting defeat, she shouted in desperation, "What about the estate? Even if the divorce was finalized, I should still get half." A lawyer calmly responded, "Malcolm already gave you a settlement payment. We have the receipt on record. Furthermore, this house was purchased before your marriage, so it isn't subject to division." It was satisfying to watch her be shut down by legal logic at every turn. Yet she still had one last desperate card to play. "What about life insurance?" she sneered. "I was the beneficiary, wasn't I?" I had to admire her tenacity, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. But once again, the lawyer delivered the final blow. Malcolm was meticulous. He changed the beneficiary after the divorce. I searched through my brother's belongings and found the life insurance policy. The moment my sister-in-law saw it, she snatched it from my hands and frantically checked the document. As soon as she saw the name listed, her shoulders slumped in defeat. I took the paper from her and saw it for myself. The beneficiary was me. Finally realizing she had lost everything, my sister-in-law screamed in frustration. "I only married Malcolm because I thought he was rich. And now I get nothing. On top of that, I have to pay alimony. This is a disaster." A lawyer coldly responded, "Malcolm felt the same way. He regretted marrying you without consulting a marriage counselor." Though my brother had never shared those feelings with me, I could tell he had been open with his colleagues. With nothing left to fight for, my sister-in-law stormed out of the house. Later, she tried to pay alimony in installments but struggled because she had never held a proper job. Desperate, she signed up with a marriage counseling agency again, hoping to find another wealthy husband. She ended up scamming a man by pretending she needed money for their future together. However, her lies caught up to her, and she was arrested for marriage fraud. A lawyer from Malcolm's firm later informed me, "Since she's in prison, it's unlikely you'll receive any alimony." I didn't care about the money, just knowing she got what she deserved was enough. As for my family, we moved into my brother's house. After living in a cramped apartment, my husband and sons were thrilled with the space and luxury. My eldest son is now more determined than ever to become a lawyer. Watching Malcolm's colleagues handle my sister-in-law only strengthened his resolve. Even though he was never officially adopted, I hope he carries on my brother's legacy. Only my second son remains disappointed. Honestly, he sighed one day, "I wish I had been adopted. Then I would have inherited everything." He laughed, but I could sense a hint of regret in his voice. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay tuned.